Vande Guru, Vande Guru, Vande Guru, Vande Guru, Vande Guru, Vande Guru, Vande Guru.
So I invite Dr. Suresh Nair to welcome the program. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Jason. A very good evening, Vande Gurum, Namaskaram, Namaste to all of you. A hearty welcome on behalf of CEIR to today's versatile speaker and a resource person, Mrs. Pallavi Sharma, Principal, Mamda Modern Senior Secondary School, Delhi, and also the Zonal Director of New Delhi. So, I also welcome all the members of Board of Directors, Zonal Directors of CEIR, Premium members, Principals, and teachers. Today's special session on teacher as an instructional leader. You know, all the teachers or one or the other way has to be a leader, particularly the subject concerned is the instructions. It's being a duty and the responsibility of the teacher. By now, since we have finished seven sessions or seven of this series, and this is the last session, 8th session. So by now, you all must, those who have attended the earlier sessions must be knowing what is CEIR. But for the benefit of the people who have, who are new to this today's session, I would like to just introduce what is CEIR. It's a CEIR, that is a Center for Educational Initiatives and Research, is a forum of experts and scholars who aim at nourishing the talents of educators to raise the education sector in India and to global standards. CEIR has an efficient board of directors, zonal directors, premium members all across the India and the Middle East. Since 2009, CEIR has conducted 11 principals conclaves, 17 interactive sessions with the CBSE officials, 65 Saturday webinars, 26 handwriting made easy programs, and 7 career counseling sessions so far. We had started with a national level NEP quiz in the month of December, followed by NEP Masterclass webinar series and NEP Pedagogy series, and the present series is going on and it is the last one today. You all should know that all CEIR activities are supported by Veda Handwriting Lab. Please visit vedahandwritingkit.com. I would now like to introduce today's speaker, Mrs. Pallavi Sharma. Having done her graduation from Bernard M. Baruch College, University of New York, USA, she is currently the principal of Mamda Modern Senior Secondary School, New Delhi. She has more than 2 decades of academic experience. She has been the recipient of many awards and recognitions. Some of them are CBSE National Principal Award in the year 2019 for commendable service in the field of education, State Award by Delhi government for invaluable contribution towards uplifting the standards of teaching in the academic session 2015-16, CBSE Mentor Principal Award 2011 by CBSE for commendable service rendered to the community as a mentor of outstanding merit. She was nominated as 50 effective principals, one of the 50 effective principals 2019 by Education Today magazine. She has received numerous awards and recognitions by various forums and magazines like Forum of Public Schools, Lions Club, National Child and Women Development Trust, Action Committee, Education Today, BrainFed, Feed, CED, etc. Under her leadership, Mamta Modern School was recorded in the Guinness Book of World Records for participation in world's largest practical in science. Under her able guidance, Mamta Modern School is being awarded the International School Award by British Council since 2010, and it is working for international projects with the foreign schools. She is a master trainer and a resource person for CBSE and has trained around 5,000 teachers of India and CBSE affiliated schools abroad. She has been conducting offline and online workshops pertaining to new education policy 2020, saline features and implementation in classrooms, outcome-based learning, framing learning outcomes, post-scholastic assessments, internal assessment, portfolio and subject enrichment activities, periodic test and multiple assessment activities, conduct management, life skills and gender sensitization, remodeled the assessment structure, etc. She was a member of committee for preparation of training manuals for Diksha on outcome-based learning, critical pedagogy, dealing with misbehaviors, interpersonal relationships. She was a member of the panel for preparation of CBSE manual for pedagogy-based learning outcomes, induction of newly affiliated schools, e-manual of best CCE practices being adopted by schools pan-India, CBSE manual on alternatives to homework. She has been the Delhi City Coordinator for evaluation of evidences of assessment for schools of Delhi. She takes pride in the promotion of sports and having on her list of alumni the captain of Indian football team, Padma Shri and Arjun Awadi, Mr. Sunil Chetri. The school has been selected by Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs as a Khelo India Center for football and baseball, being the only school in North India selected for these two sport disciplines. The school is also adapted by Sports Authority of India for football and basketball. Under her leadership, the school has been awarded by Delhi government as the best school of the zone for the last 3 consecutive years for winning maximum prizes in sports and cultural activities. She is also the president of the Adal Sahodaya School Complex, New Delhi. So by now you must be knowing as I started with, what a versatile speaker and a resource person today we have got for CEIRs, this today's session. Without much time, I will request Mrs. Pallavi Sharma to take over. I request all the participants, in case you have any questions to be asked, we can do it in the end, and at the same time you may post it in the chat box also, and after finishing her talk we can take one by one questions also. Yes, Madam Pallavi ma'am, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Suresh sir, for this wonderful introduction. I am truly humbled. I welcome all the participants. In fact, I welcome all the instructional leaders. Each one of you, dear teachers, welcome to the session today where you, yes, you, the teacher, is the instructional leader. Just give me a minute. I'll share my screen. I'm going to make it a very interactive session. So I request you all to be active with your chat box, and we'll be playing some games. So is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Now, before I start the session today, instructional leader, something we are not very used to hearing, a new term probably for many of us. So I was just thinking how to get it across to everybody. So let's see two classroom situations and we'll take it from there. I'm just playing a little video. I request you all to observe. There's going to be a few questions after that based on the situation. I hope the sound is visible, audible, right? Yeah.
No, ma'am.
No sound, ma'am.
No sound?
No.
Okay. Just give me. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, now coming.
Good morning, students. Open your book to page number 48. Read from left side paragraph 2. The journey of the two friends thus began on an optimistic note.
Ma'am, what is the meaning of optimistic?
How many times do I need to tell you? Haven't you learned the word meanings I gave yesterday?
Sorry, ma'am.
You, three of you, what are you doing? Get out of my class and raise your hands. Okay, class, that's all for today. You will read the chapter at home properly. I will be asking the questions tomorrow.
But ma'am, you have not explained the remaining story. Can you please do it tomorrow?
No, you will read it yourself. We will be doing question answers tomorrow so that you can attempt them well in your exams.
My dear children, let me count from 1 to 5 and you all will settle down and get ready for the next interesting 40 minutes. Before we proceed, please tell me, are you all ready for the role play that I assigned you yesterday?
Yes, ma'am. We all are very excited and ready. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to be a cotton crop. And ma'am, I will become a farmer.
Oh, wow! Now, children, I would like you all to close your books and I'll narrate you an interesting story to clear the concept of farming and cultivation. Now, open up page number 48 of your books. Read the text, and by the time I'll divide your class into groups of 4 with 3 groups, and I'll assign one leader from the remaining students. These students will frame questions from this text, and the group members will answer the questions by coming to a common conclusion.
So now we've seen these two videos. We've observed two classroom situations. So time for the chat box. What was the difference in the ideology of the two teachers? In the chat box, the terms that you think, what do you think the first teacher was doing? What was her ideology? Why do the children need to read the text? Why?
Pallavi, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Slight echo is coming, ma'am, from your end. please.
Okay, I'll try to take care of it. Is it better?
Speak again, ma'am.
Is it better now?
Yeah. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
But
So
still
Sonia says to score in exams. Ramneet says the first teacher was following the plain lecture for grades, rote learning without explanation. Kanika says rote learning, just being the instructor, not facilitated. Okay, rote learning, reading. So the first teacher who we saw was only concentrating mainly on getting the lesson to the children. She just wanted them to prepare for the examination. And what about the second teacher? What about the second teacher? Ideally, what do you think? Yes, for the first teacher, exams were important. Yes, the children were enjoying. There was experiential learning, learning by doing, interactive, a lot of experiential learning. Okay, Laziz affair. Okay, practical approach, interactive, child-centered. Children were enjoying. Okay, so we've already started, getting into the concept of instructional leadership. Now, what was the effect on the children? What was the effect in the first case? What do you think was the effect? Were the children enjoying the class? No, they were bored. They were bored. They were probably intimidated because the teacher was not ready to explain. The kids enjoyed the class 2, not class 1. Okay, they were bored. They were discouraged. Okay, boring. They were discouraged. There was confusion in the class. They didn't want to pay attention. But the second teacher, okay, the children were enjoying. They were excited. They were engaged. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, dear teachers, dear friends, this is exactly where we are trying to get to. Now, before I move on to define instructional leadership, I want to know from all of you, this is an ice-breaking kind of a session. What is more important for you? We are going to be sharing a link in the chat box, which has been shared, a Mentimeter link. I request you to please join the Mentimeter link. And in case you join it directly, use the code 11785386. Let's show you the results. Yeah, you can see. Let's see. What do you think is more important? Teaching, learning. What do you think? Okay, thank you. You can see what is happening. Both, okay, learning, great. I'm so happy the teaching is at 0. I'm so happy that only teaching is at 0. Okay, more people to play. Let's have some more. 34 people think both. 27 say learning is important. Okay. Okay, we have one person who thinks teaching is important. 28 feel that learning is important. 37, okay, it's going up. Okay, wonderful. So now, I think a few more we can take. We are quite a few here. We can just be here for another half a minute. I can see learning going up. Yes, the learning is going up. It's kind of balancing out. Okay, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. 37 people feel learning is important. 40 feel that both are important. One person feels teaching is important. So do you think I need to say anything more? Thank you, Kanika. I request you to stop sharing. I'll share my screen from here. So, what do I need to say anything more? We all agree that learning is more important in classrooms. Teaching for learning is more important in classrooms. And we have all agreed that teaching alone is not as important. Now, dear teachers, I don't mean to say you are not important. Please understand. The very point that we are here to discuss today is who is an instructional leader. Well, an instructional leader is one teacher who takes all actions to promote the growth of the students, and that's not it. Promote the growth of the students and promote professional development of co-teachers. So who is an instructional leader? Well, I started off saying you're all instructional leaders. We all should be instructional leaders. Your poll has shown that you agree that learning is the most important thing that should be happening in a school. And so for that, we all are instructional leaders, because an instructional leader is one who would focus on instruction in the classroom, all the classroom activities, to ensure that learning is happening. So we will be discussing today the characteristics. What does an instructional leader need to have? Who can be? What do you need to do to take the responsibility of an instructional leader? I'll give you an example, like in a school, a principal. Now, what do you think? The principal of the school has a lot of things to be done, but the principal cannot be stuck in the office doing administrative work. It is very essential that the principal understands what is happening in the classroom, how are the learning outcomes being met, what are the pedagogies being followed, how is the assessment happening in the class, what is it that is happening inside the classroom. And that's where the most important instructional leader in the school would be the principal. But it's not only the principal. No one can do it alone. Each one of you, every teacher in the school needs to be a leader. Every teacher in the school needs to understand that we need to promote learning in the classrooms, and that will only happen when we take care of all the things I will be discussing today. Now, just to share with you another thought. Now, if we need to buy groceries, we would go to a grocery store. If we need to, if we need to pray, we would go to the temple of the religion that we believe in. So where would we go for learning? To schools. Do you all agree? Where do we go for learning? To a school. So the basic purpose of a school should be learning for children. Now, that is why we need to understand who is an instructional leader. Well, a teacher with a mission. A vision, who is on a mission. A teacher who has a vision. I need to know what are my goals. Why am I entering the class on a certain day? I am going to teach my children addition today. I am going to make sure my children will be able to add. Here is the difference. When I say I'm going to be teaching something, the teacher in the first classroom went to the class and told them to read. She did her bit. She told them, I've given you all the word meanings. You do it in the class, you do it, prepare for your test. Everything was done without caring if the children were able to learn. What were the learning outcomes of that class? But the second teacher engaged the children. In short, she was very clear of her learning outcomes, that she wanted children to know or be able to know the different types of agriculture or the crops. And that's why there was engagement in the class. The pedagogy used was such that the children were interactive, involved, engaged, full of joy. And so the teacher ensured that learning outcomes were being met. And in this way, the teacher who was focused to the plan, your lesson planning, is a teacher who has a clear vision of what she or he is out to do. So I hope we are very clear that when we set out to be instructional leaders, that is, we try to make a difference in the learning of children to ensure learning outcomes are being met, we need to have our visions very clear. Why is it that I am entering the class today? maybe I want to do addition. So I'm very clear today I'm going to do addition with the children, but that's not my the learning outcome. It would be that my children will be able to add one-digit numbers. That's when I'm clear with my learning outcomes. So that's the first. Curriculum involvement, a teacher who is involved with the curriculum. How is the curriculum framed? How are the pedagogies planned? As you know, that CBSE and all the new education policy is talking now a lot about the learning in the classes. And that's why an instructional leader would be one who is involved with the curriculum, the learning outcomes, how to meet the learning outcomes, what are the tools that can be used to meet the learning outcomes. What can be done to improve the students' achievements? Because if you use good tools, effective tools, I would say, to meet your learning outcomes, the student achievement levels would be very, very high. And then when you reflect on your curriculum planning, it would lead you to curriculum development. We keep developing, reviewing our curriculum periodically to ensure that we are effective teachers in the classroom. And for that, of course, I encourage each one of you to take up a lot of action research. Now, as you know, the 7-day workshops, the sessions that have happened by CEIR has covered all these aspects. So action research was also one aspect which was covered. How to ensure that you involve in action research. Why? To ensure that you do the best for your students and learning is happening in the classrooms. Also, an instructional leader would be one who has content knowledge and its application within and across curriculums, a multidisciplinary curriculum, an integrated curriculum. You would ensure that you integrate with all the subjects available. The subject teachers would be sitting. I will be coming to the roles you can play as an instructional leader, but an instructional leader is one who would ensure that the curriculum is integrated across the subject. ICT is being used. The research-based knowledge and principles of teaching, learning, positive use of ICT. These are things that you would ensure that it is being used in your class. Strategies for promoting literacy and numeracy. I hope we are all very clear. When I say I'm literate, if I'm able to read the word R-E-A-D like that, it doesn't show literacy. I'm supposed to be able to join it as a word and read it. So literacy is needed. Literacy, writing skills, reading skills, numeracy. I may be able to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but am I able to count 10 objects? Now, this is the skill that you as instructional leaders would have. You would ensure with your students once you are working as an instructional leader. You would develop critical thinking, creative thinking, the higher order thinking skills. Why are they important? I'll be coming to it. It is important for the development of the brain. We are preparing our children for the 21st century. The pandemic happened. Did we know what to do? It was all these skills that we are using at this time to ensure that we make things better for ourselves. Classroom communication strategies. You would use all of these to ensure that your children develop all these skills. And in this way, you would, be working as an instructional leader. So as an instructional leader, the first point I mentioned was that you would be ensuring you have a vision, your goals, your plans, your learning outcomes are set. Then you would ensure you are concentrating on the curriculum development. How is the curriculum to be, how would it be put into utilize? How is it going to be in the class? What are the pedagogies? And then you would ensure that you put your students first. Now, the first step when you put your students first is you need to KYS. That is, know your students. Teachers, it is very important that we know the students we are dealing with. Only then will I be able to plan good learning, smart learning outcomes. Will I be able to plan my pedagogy? I need to know what excites my students. I need to know what gives them joy. I need to know what would help in learning. And every class is different. So what may work in one class will never work in the other class. So this is something you all need to ensure, that when you put your students first, you need to first know your students. You need to consider what is best for your students, because we need to ensure that learning is happening. And you need to rely on competency-based learning. Now, this is again a term that we are hearing very often. What are the competencies? Well, I just shared with you that I need to give my children skills. I cannot say I have taught addition. 5 plus 2, jahan bhi bacche ko dungi wo kar lega. Wherever I give my child 5 plus 2, 6 plus, but does my student have the skill for addition, the competencies for all the other skills? Are they developed in my children? An instructional leader would always ensure that the children are competent. They are competent for taking on the world, and they have positive relationships. An instructional leader will have a very positive relationship. And teachers, I can assure you, and with experience I'm saying it, that I have seen that teachers who have positive relationships with children fare better in terms of their learning outcomes, because you are able to attract the children with your positive vibes. And of course, it is very important that we give the children real world relevance. Why am I telling the child to study trigonometry? How does the child know where it is going to be used? So if I'm an instructional leader, I will connect my concepts with the real world. How? Take them out to the ground, maybe tell them this is a tree. Now we have to go and measure the height of this tree using the concepts we have learned in our class. They will be able to remember, connected to the real world. This is one thing. I mean, these are the few things that are very important as instructional leaders, where you put your students first. And we are always, keep thinking about it. We are doing everything to ensure that learning is happening in the class. So for learning to happen, all the strategies that you would be using would be to ensure that your students are engaged. It's an interactive session. Children are active. Children are involved, and you will ensure learning will happen. Because if it's a class that is boring, or if you do not give concepts to children, you will never be able to get across to them why this learning is happening, why this teaching is happening. Now, as an instructional leader, yes, you need to be a teacher, but it is very important that you need to be a learner. You yourself need to have continual improvement, professional development for your own self. You need to demonstrate lifelong learning. Now, I have come across many teachers who say, oh, I have taught for 30 years. I don't need to look at a book anymore. I have heard people say, I know this book from, first page to last page. I don't need to look at the book. But think about it. Times have changed. We have new education policies. We are now talking about different pedagogies to be used in the classroom. We are now talking about meeting learning outcomes. And that will not happen unless we are in the habit of continuously improving our own capacity. Our own capacity building is happening. It is very important. I may be a principal, I may be a teacher of senior wing, I may be a teacher of the primary wing or the nursery wing, but there is no one who does not need to learn. And if you can just appreciate that the teach that you see, the mirror image, what do you see? On my slide, the mirror image of teach in the chat box so that I just know you're all with me. What is the mirror image of teach that you can see? Learn, yes. So a teacher is one who is always a lifelong learner. Thank you. Thank you. And of course, it goes without saying, an instructional leader is one who is very strong on their own ethics, their own principles of honesty, righteousness, fairness, responsibility, consciousness, choice, value, integrity. And if you set an example, you don't need to worry about setting rules. If you set examples for your children, and let me tell you, whatever class you may be teaching, children learn through observation, through examples. You cannot tell a child to do something you yourself don't practice. So if you are an instructional leader, you want your children to move ahead in life, to learn. Let's ensure that we have all these characteristics, these habits in us that we should, show at all times. So how can I be a good instructional leader? Well, I know what the characteristics of a good instructional leader. Now, how can I be? Maybe you already are. So let's see. You can tick the ones you feel you already have. Let's see what can we all do to be good instructional leaders? It's never too late. Well, first of all, you need to understand the brain development for every child. Now, you are all dealing with a set age group, probably. Now, if you're dealing with primary children, nursery children, we need to understand how the brain develops. Do we understand that the brain development from the 0 to 6 years is 85%? We need to understand all of this. There are times when we expect too much from children. And the young brain is very different from the mature brain. In fact, there are researches, it's a fact, in fact, that the brain develops from the stem forward. And the last area of the brain to develop is the prefrontal cortex, which is in charge of, cause and effect, impulse control, attention span, organizational skills. And it is believed that in women, this prefrontal cortex activates by 20, the age 20, but in men, it develops later. So we need to understand that we cannot put expectations on the young brain that we have for the mature brain. We need to understand this as teachers. But like I told you in the beginning, when I spoke about the critical skills, the critical thinking, when we provide our students explicit instruction in literacy, communication, critical thinking, reflection, socio-emotional learning and growth, the neural connections in the prefrontal cortex increase. Yes, we can make a difference with all these skills being encouraged in the classroom. We can make a difference. So we need to know, today is not a day for me to discuss the brain development, but yes, it is important that we understand the brain, the development of the age group that we are dealing with. We need to be connected to learning groups. All of you here, I congratulate you to be connected to CEIR. You are connected to this learning group where we are having wonderful webinars every Saturday, and you could see so many, you hear such good speakers, and a lot of learning is happening for all of you. You are connected via the social media, via webinars, via collaborative analysis. It is very important that we as teachers be connected to learning groups. Only then will we enhance our own learning and connections. I know many of you are connected to your subject colleagues from other schools. It is good. When we are connected, we share, we discuss good practices, best practices. Another important thing that we need to ensure is we need to support comprehension of the content. Now, I have heard so many teachers say, I don't have time. We can just give the content to the child. And that is what the first teacher was doing. She didn't bother of whether the children understood or not. She said, I have given you, read the page. I have given you the word meanings. You read it, prepare for the test and come. Now, that is not what is expected of a good instructional leader or an effective teacher. You need to develop the knowledge and skills for comprehension. Your children should be able to understand the material that they are. Why are they studying that material? Why? If I am being made to study about the French Revolution, as history teachers, I urge you not to just tell them that it's in the book, so you have to study it. No, there is a reason. You need to know that first and then tell the children. We study history so that we learn from our mistakes. We don't, do those same mistakes maybe in the future. We teach our children of why things went wrong, what went wrong. They need to have that knowledge, why they are being made to study certain things. You need to stop, collaborate, and listen. So, invest your time with novices, with veterans to discover what is needed, discuss the requirements for success. A new teacher will probably not have as much skills, and a veteran would be somebody who would be able to give you a lot of experience. So, this collaboration is very important. We should share and learn from each other's experiences. It is very, very important. We should develop a growth mindset. It is important that, we understand that we reflect on our mistakes. We make adjustments to increase success. So what happens is, when you're teaching a lesson, you need to question yourself. What was the content objective of this lesson? What was the critical thinking objective for this lesson? Were my objectives met? What is it that I want to improve in this lesson? What are my teaching strengths? What would I like to improve? So these are things that are very, very important by helping colleagues to reflect on what works, what does not work. You use that data for guiding their thinking and instruction. So start questioning. Don't go to a class. Don't think I have done it. It's over. I don't want to. We should reflect. We should model and practice. It's important. Then we need to promote peer coaching. Now, this is something I have noticed. We are usually very scared, there's a lot of inhibition, but teachers, I urge you, observe each other and analyze each other. It's not, I understand that we have observations in schools, which may be a little, you're scared because you feel you're being observed by the management, it's evaluative, but peer coaching is not one that is evaluative or punitive. You do not act as evaluators. So if one teacher calls another teacher, maybe one teacher says, I'm going to incorporate more multi-level questions and a 50-50 student-teacher talk time in my class. So can I request Sunita ma'am to come to my class today and, you observe and give me feedback. You calculate the time. Am I doing the right? We learn from each other. An instructional leader who's trying to make a difference first needs to change. First, they need to change themselves. And that can happen through observation when we observe and we analyze each other. We provide support based on needs. Now, we have different kinds of teachers in school. We could have a high-will, high-skilled kind of a teacher, a high-will, low-skilled kind of a teacher, a low-will, high-skilled kind of a teacher, or a low-will, low-will low skill kind of a teacher. Now, it is important that we understand. Now, of course, yes, we need to take from the experiences of a high will, high skill teacher. That teacher will give us a lot of experience. And a high will, low skill teacher would probably be a novice, a teacher who has recently joined. Why can't we, give that new teacher the skills through the experience of the high will, high skill kind of teacher? So this is something we need to, focus on. We need to spend time as principals, as teachers, because we are leading. We are all leading in our own capacities. It's not like, what can I do? Each one of you has to ensure that we are all participating in these activities. We all need to ensure that we are all becoming instructional leaders. So you need to observe instructions, observe classrooms, try to enter as many classrooms as you can. And it's not that you always have to go into a good classroom. Don't think, oh, this was not good. You learn from even a classroom which was not effective. You know what has not worked. So even if a classroom is not particularly strong, because you're observing a range of teaching, it will give you a critical experience. Join the classes on different grade levels. It will give you an insight into different kinds of learning. Request your principal to observe. Join whenever you have an opportunity. Visit good schools, visit schools. Sit in the grade levels that you have not taught, because this will give you a lot of knowledge, insight into teaching, the teaching learning process. Experience teaching in new classes. Now, I don't know how many of you do it, but think about it. How many of you go to another, during summer, try to take up a different project? Maybe I'm an English teacher, but I tell my principal, ma'am, I want to teach craft. Try it. What is the harm? It's a summer. Try to go up and down. In my school, it is compulsory, and my teachers are here. They will vouch for it, that we give our senior teachers a class in the lower level. My headmistress, who was teaching 11th and 12th English, was taking 3rd standard English too, because she needs to know what is happening, how are the children being prepared in the primary to go up. So if you are a teacher of 11th and 12th, try to take class 6. You are preparing the children from there. Don't take it as a punishment. It is an opportunity to learn. I have already just shared it, but once again, be open to be observed by others and value the feedback. Now, this is something, do not take feedback negatively. If you want to improve, you need to take the feedback positively. For observation by others, collaborate with others, accept the feedback. Only then will you improve. We don't know what are the problems unless we, have somebody observe us. Be open to observation. Be an avid reader. An avid reader, it is important. Think about it. How many books of any subject have you read in the last month, 6 months? How many books, how many texts, how many resources do you read? There is new research coming every day. How many of us are aware of the new researches? What is happening? Why is something happening? How is it happening? How many of you think about it? These are all questions that, you need to answer. And unless you can answer them in a positive way, you will not be able to be an instructional leader, which is the need of today. So now I have shared with you what an instructional leader is like. I have told you what all you need to do to be an instructional leader. Now, what are the characteristics of the instructional leader that you think you have? Now, we put a Padlet in the chat box. I request you to join this Padlet activity. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm sure you've all used Padlet. Join the Padlet and put in your views. What is it Okay, so we can see the screen. Peer coaching, okay, wonderful. We've already started. Put in your name so that we know. We just have 3 to 4 minutes for this. Okay, Palak, we have Palak there for peer coaching, somebody. Okay. Palak is, okay, Amrita, Bharti. They're all entered the Padlet, Rajinder, Amrita. Bharti's experience teaching, okay. Team teaching, Arogya, okay. Ramneet is there, teaching in new classes, Bharti says. Wonderful. Learning by observing, Rita, wonderful. I see Ramneet typing, felicitating, okay. Is an avid reader. Rashmi Krishnan is here, okay. Jalaja says blended learning, okay. Taruni says learning by observing, okay. Prajakta says motivation, okay. Deepa is learning by observing. Collaborative learning, we can see. Avid readers, Sanya is learning. Christina is in the here too. Beena says by discussion, learning by observing, valuing the feedback. Bharti says, I love to learn from failure. I love that. I really love that. I think you're a true learner because if you are not scared of failure, you'll always succeed in life. Sarika says blended learning, learning by observing, relate and empathize with others, understand them, peer learning, accepting the feedback and improving. Wonderful. Wonderful. Collaborative, Gurvinder Kaur says, collaborative learning, okay. Palak, learning from children, okay. Always be positive. Blended, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Kanika. We can stop sharing the screen. I'll continue. Thank you, teachers. Just wanted to know what all you've been able to catch. So I'm happy that you're all with me. We're all on the same page. We all understand that we can do a lot to ensure that teaching learning is happening in the class. And we can all play our roles to ensure that we are going to be instructional leaders. So what are the responsibilities as a teacher leader? Now, when I need to be an instructional leader, yes, I'm trying to promote the learning in my class. But what do I do as a teacher with my colleagues? I can be a resource provider. If I help my teachers, my co-teachers, maybe a new teacher who has joined, with assessment tools, with copies, with articles, with online resources, with websites, instructional material, I am helping be a resource provider for my colleague. I'm ensuring that we all rise together. We are all going to be instructional leaders together. There is no race and no competition here. We need to ensure that all our children are going to be, the learning is going to be very, very fruitful for all the students. So I need to be a resource provider. Each one of us needs to be. I need to be an instructional specialist. Now, who is an instructional specialist? A teacher who will help colleagues implement the teaching strategies based, study research-based classroom strategies, share ideas, plan lessons in partnership with fellow teachers. Now, I'll give you an example so that it's easier for all of you to understand. Now, if you are a science teacher and you notice that your children are not able to write the manual, and you invite the language teacher to help you with this problem that you are happening, the teacher recommends strategies for writing instruction. You both examine the lab reports together and identify the strengths and weaknesses of the children. So you are working together on the instruction that is to be used for promoting the writing of the lab manuals in a better way. So you are then an instructional specialist. curriculum specialist. Now, what is a curriculum? I shared with you in the beginning, and it's all overlapping, you know, because an instructional leader is one who is more for the children, for the curriculum, for the content. So as a curriculum specialist, you would understand the content. Why is content placed in the curriculum? You would link the various components of the curriculum. You would use curriculum in planning instructions and assessment. Remember, I shared with you, we plan our curriculum, we plan our learning outcomes, we plan the pedagogy, we plan the assessments accordingly. So a curriculum specialist. Now, an example again, if one teacher, maybe the social science teacher and all the other teachers are sitting together to integrate the curriculum so that the subjects, all the subjects are integrated so that they can teach together, you would then be a curriculum specialist. So where you are working to facilitate the development and analysis of common assessments, you would all be working together. Now, teachers, I want you to take interest because there's a test right after I'm going to discuss the roles that we are playing. You could be a classroom supporter. So who is a classroom supporter? Now, you would probably, if you ask your principal and say, ma'am, I and Bharti or I and Kanika want to do this project in the classroom. We are trying out a different strategy. Please give us 2 periods together. We are going to support. We are going to demonstrate and co-teach, observe and give feedback in the class. We are classroom. We are supporting each other in the classroom. We are classroom supporters. I hope it's clear to all of you. So when, they ask for time, for professional time, for learning more about the strategy and planning a lesson together, for co-teaching, then they would be classroom supporters. A learning facilitator. So a teacher who would probably facilitate learning in, so what would they do? First, identify the learning needs of the students. The learning needs, what is it that the students need? And what is it that the teachers, what is my knowledge and skills that my teachers have? That will be identified. First, the needs of the students, then identify the knowledge and skills of the teachers. And then identify learning opportunities that the teachers need. Such a teacher who would facilitate the professional learning opportunities for their colleagues would be a learning facilitator. So you can play, in fact, you should play all these roles. Please never think and say, why should I? There is a teacher, a principal, there is an headmistress, there are coordinators, there are representatives, there are HODs. No, you are all leaders in your own way. You need to play this role because, like I said, you all need to take collective action to ensure that the school and the students move ahead. You could be a mentor. So, in many schools, like in my school also, we do, when a new teacher joins, we have one teacher be a mentor for that teacher to show her around, tell her where everything in the school is, how the lesson plans are to be done, how the classrooms are to be conducted, how we prepare for a demonstration, how we prepare for a presentation. So we guide, we influence, we support for teaching. So that kind of a teacher would be a mentor. Data coach. Now, each one of us needs to analyze data to strengthen classroom instruction. I don't know how many of you do it, but how many of you analyze the marks or, if you give a question, suppose you've given a writing skill to all the children, how many of you analyze to see how many of the children have been able to do it correctly or not? What is the data of the, success or failure or learning? that has happened. And then if you see that children have not been able to perform to a satisfactory level, you would plan your instructions, you would change your instructions based on data. How many of you do it? Good. If I'm seeing some people saying that we do it, I really congratulate you, because we need to analyze our own selves, our own teaching at times. You know, is my student able to understand what I am doing, what I'm saying? Are they able to, understand the point? Are they able to, perform the performance of the group? I need to analyze it. So then, based on that data, you could plan out, change your instructions. So data can also drive instruction in the class. Many a times I do encourage my teachers to say, to after the lesson, you take up one question. Maybe you're a maths teacher. You do one question. And then if every child has been able to do it, so the concept is clear. If they have not been able to do it, any one concept, you can probably redo it with the children. So data, as a data coach, you could make a lot of differences with your students. Yes, you need to be a catalyst to change. Now, teachers need, they should not feel insecure in change. This is something I have noticed many a times. I encourage each one of you to ensure that you are ready to change yourselves. You need to have a strong commitment. We say, today I was in a webinar and it was very interesting what I heard, that we are teaching 21st century learners. We are probably 20th century teachers, and we are probably stuck with a 19th century curriculum or teaching at times. So we have to change. We need to bring that balance. And nobody else will change. It is us, the teachers, the instructional leaders, who need to bring about change in anything and everything, because change needs to, the variable, it needs to, there needs to be change in any organization, in terms of actions, in terms of pedagogies, in terms of all the different things that are happening. Now, another role you could play is a school leader. Now, who is a school leader? Well, a school leader is one who shares the vision of the school, who supports the school initiative. So, suppose the school is planning to change the vision of the school. Now, if there is, probably we have Surekha, who would, or Shweta, who would say, ma'am, I will arrange 10 students to interact, the stakeholders to interact together so that we can discuss the change, the new vision for the school. So Shweta has played the role of a school leader. Please, it's not only the principal. You can be a leader when you support the school vision, when you are a part of the school improvement team, when you are doing all that you can to ensure the school moves forward. You are a school leader. So now, this time again, I need to know whether you're with me on this page. So questions for you. We've given you a Mentimeter on the chat box. And take this quiz. Let's see how much you know. This is going to be interesting because, okay, a lot of people are there. 40 people are already there. Okay, Kanika, can we have the first question? Kanika, I am unable to see the question.
Ma'am, just a second.
Yeah. So let's see, what we have all been able to learn today, because we are almost coming towards the end of the session. Okay, we have the Mentimeter link again being shared. Okay. Okay, we can have the second question first. That's okay, Kanika. You can read out the question.
We have done the first. Yes, ma'am. I'll read down the question.
Yeah.
All right. So second question goes here.
You have to share your screen. We can't see your screen.
Ma'am, I'll just read it out.
Okay.
If I learn something new in my staff meeting and I'm willing to try it in my class, I am a, your options are data coach, learner, resource provider. So
if I learn something,
answers.
Share your screen, Kanika. I want to see the fun that is happening on the Menti.
Yes, ma'am, I'll do that.
Are the participants attempting it on the Mentimeter?
Yes, ma'am, so, ma'am, this is the result we have got from the second question. So 45 of them has done the correct answer.
Okay. Next, move on to the next. So we have 45 people who answered learner correctly. Okay. Next. Oh, time out, Prajakta says. Kanika, next question. Read it out.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So the third question is on your screens now. The third question is there. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Shekhawat helps the principal in the school improvement planning process. Mr. Shekhawat falls in the category of data coach, school leader, or mentor.
Okay, and the results are?
Ma'am, we are waiting. It's 17 seconds. You still have time. You all can opt your option. All right, so 5 seconds left for the answer. 3, 2, 1. And let's have the results now.
Share the results of the screen.
Yes, ma'am. So these are the results, ma'am.
Okay, school leader. It's a school leader if you're helping the principal in the school improvement planning process. Wonderful. Okay, next question. So you can see a lot needs to be still, understood.
So question 4 is now on your screens. So question 4 says, Mrs. Gupta works with her co-teachers. Mrs. Gupta works with the co-teachers and agrees to develop a multidisciplinary curriculum and administer common assessments. Who is Mrs. Gupta? Curriculum specialist, instructional specialist, or a leader? So you have 15 seconds to answer.
Okay.
10 seconds left. 5 seconds. All right, so the time is up now. Let's have the results.
Yes, and the correct answer. Yes, curriculum specialist. I'm glad 52 of you got it right. Wonderful. Yes, and this was the last question?
Yes, ma'am, you can continue
okay,
now.
Thank you, teachers. Thank you. So I'm happy that you're all able to follow. Most of you have been able to follow and you've understood the roles that you would probably need to play. And the need of the hour teachers at this time is that you need to be a teacher of today, a teacher who has effective and oral communication skills, collaboration, critical thinking, initiative, curiosity, optimism, self-regulation, and a vision. You need to be a 21st century teacher, an innovator. You need to innovate. You need to be tech friendly. Again, I'm sharing with you because you need to ensure joyful learning in the class. You need to use multiple teaching learning strategies. You need to ensure 21st century skills in your classes. Why? Why is creativity important? Now, if children are stuck, what is the purpose of creativity? When they are stuck with something they've never seen before, they need to be able to think instead of remember. The pandemic hit. If this had never happened before, we would never be able to think unless we have creativity amongst us. We need to reflect on our mistakes. What are the mistakes that we make? What am I teaching? How will I know if the students have understood? Who am I teaching? These are things we need to reflect on. Why? Because there are many common mistakes that we make. We concentrate on tests. We do not see the skills that need to be covered. We should concentrate on active learning, whereas we are using passive learning. We are trying to have access to Wikipedia. We are not trying to edit Wikipedia. We need to test children on what we teach them, what they learn. We need to, don't think, there are certain times now, this is something I've noticed. We think only as on the attention grabber. So there was this, we've developed this cartoon where there was a guest in the school and the father asked, what did you do in school today? And the child says, we had a guest and he taught us about chemicals. And it was so cool. It was like a glass of water, but when he put in something inside it, it boiled. And the father says, well, why did he show you that? And the child says, I don't know. Because the teacher was concentrating so much on grabbing the attention of the children that they missed out on the real purpose of teaching metals and non-metals at that time. So let's not make this mistake. Let's not have a fixed mindset. Dear teachers, let's have a growth mindset. Our attitude makes a big difference. Fixed-mindedness will never work. The attitude needs to change. Your attitude is a better predictor for your success than your IQ. In fact, there has been a study in one of the universities of USA where they have, it has been researched that 85% of attitude and ability to relate with others is of better success. And if you have only 15% knowledge and technical skills, you will still succeed. So your attitude is very important. You need to change your attitude. Have a positive attitude for harmonious relationships, better decision-making, better health, more wealth. Negative attitude would only put stress hormones and suppress your immune system. So change the attitude. And here I'll just share, there is a video which I'd like to
Everything is computers, and these kids, little rascals, they know everything about this. They want to control us.
But technology is the future, ma'am. This article on Akshat's iPad tells us that your no language theory about Indus Valley civilization is factually incorrect. Your textbook got it wrong, ma'am.
But I cannot accept this.
This is unfair. All the other teachers accept this now.
How many times have I told you that I do not want computers in the class? Come on, Mr. Sarkar. At this age, you want me to learn something new?
What is there, Mrs. Driver? Go to computer classes. They are everywhere now.
Are Baba, I'm 50 years old now. What will my students say if they find out? Your money. Now all of you can send me your assignments by email.
So change the attitude. I won't say change your attitude. change the attitude and make your school an instructionally effective school. I'm just sharing, we've shared all of this today, and a model for instructional leadership for your school where you have a school vision, you're managing your instructional program, and you're promoting a school climate that has a lot of instruction. And with this, I come to the end of today's session. I'll only end with a video, a very motivational video.
How aptly you said that the teacher with a teacher with a vision is on a mission. That was very, very apt, particularly during this time. And you have clearly said also teaching as well as learning is more important. Majority of the topics which you have covered are already covered in our different sessions, or particularly in this 20th, 21st century teaching skills. So I hope majority of our participants must have very clearly understood. And Pallavi ma'am, I will just tell you that when the session was as expected or more than expected, was very excellent and wonderful session. So thank you very much. And I thank the board of directors, zonal directors, all the principals and the teachers who have been with us for almost all the sessions, or even for the today's session also. It was really interesting and thought-provoking also. Many things which we were doing it, or we can even imagine that what you have said is exactly was happening in our day-to-day work also. So teacher has to be a leader. Not only the principal has to be the leader. You have proved that the teacher has to be a leader, instructional leader. That is actually very fine. And teacher, from teacher, the leadership comes and the principal becomes. So directly nobody joins as a principal without being a teacher. So a principal is also supposed to be a teacher. I request if any participants would like to ask any questions, you can just ask. Please note, we are just actually before time. All the activities of CEIR is supported by Veda Handwriting, and I would like to thank Veda Handwriting Lab also for the unstinted support to CEIR for all its activities. Tomorrow we have a session on NEP 2020 aligned AI artificial intelligence session for educators. So I request all the participants to be there. It's a Saturday session. It's a free session. Every Saturday session, CER conduct a free session for all the educators. And it's a very important session. First of all, NEP 2020 is also been coming out. And not only that one, artificial intelligence, which is actually the need of the hour. So please do attend this session tomorrow at 4:30 again. In case if anybody is having any question, you can even unmute yourself. I think Srisan sir can be done now. Srisan sir. Srisan sir.
Maybe they can.
You can unmute. Try to unmute. Srisan sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, anybody wants to ask the questions, please unmute.
Yeah.
You can directly interact with the ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Anyone, please raise hand so that he can unmute yourself. Anyone who would like to ask any questions?
There was a question that I just noticed. Somebody mentioned that children have forgotten to write. How can we motivate them? Well, if it's about online classes, again, be an instructional leader, develop such pedagogies and such strategies for your classroom which need children to write, and assess them accordingly. What we are doing is we are not letting children write. So little bit of written work, which needs to be submitted, written work, not typed anymore, will encourage children to start writing. Because yes, this was something we too noticed, but yes, be an instructional leader. Different strategies can be used in your classroom as part of your pedagogy, and children will get into the habit. How to improve their handwriting? Well, contact Srisan sir. He's the best person for that. Veda Handwriting is doing a wonderful job. We are hearing good things. We are seeing very good results. So
this program can be attended.
Yes, attend the program that is on the screen if you want to. And it's not for children only. Even the adults will find difference happening.
Yeah. Any other questions?
If there are any other questions. Either everybody has understood everything, or
definitely
nobody has understood anything.
You have done it in such a way that everybody understood. So there is no question of asking doubts. Sunita ma'am, am I right?
It was genuinely a very, I won't say it was a very easy topic. When I was given this topic by Srisan sir, it took me a few days to think about it, because we don't usually talk about teachers as instructional leaders. We usually look up to the principals as the instructional leader in the school. So it was, I hope we have been able to do justice and motivate each one of you today to be an instructional leader and make a difference to your schools, help your principals and your schools.
It's best also, ma'am. It's good also, because see that first of all, as I said earlier, the teacher has to think himself or herself to be a leader. Then only he or she can become a principal.
Yes. It's very important. And when we say the other person will do it, we actually don't do justice to learning, because each one of us needs to play the role.
So there was just one question had come in this thing.
Why is handwriting important for 21st century where everybody is digital? We find every book in print only.
That is since from the beginning it was like that. When did you see that in 2000 also the books were in print? 1900 also books were in print. That's not a new news.
So it is not only important. It's not only important in 2020 or 21st century. It may be important in 25th century also.
Yeah. Then what is the importance of listening, writing, reading?
Yeah. And it's a skill, and I will share with you. This is something I have done my graduation from the US, and there we are so used to doing calculation. If I say 60% of 100, you'll all put 60 in the chat box immediately. But in the US, they have to use a calculator. What you are saying for writing, they have done away with calculations because they say, why calculate when the calculator is there? That is happening. Children are allowed to take calculators to school. So, these are basic skills which we cannot do away with. The hand, the eye, the coordination, the mind and the hand coordination are things we cannot do away with. These are skills that we have to keep for our children. Yes, it's debatable whether we do cursive handwriting or print. That is debatable because what they read in the books is print. That is debatable, but I think there is no question about not being able to write. Children need to be encouraged to write.
And
It's
that
like
improves the kinetic this thing, ma'am. As ma'am said, this is not just to write, it have multiple benefits or effects
Yes.
on your brain. If, this is not just to, make the letters visible. It has, so many other benefits for a child.
Yes.
Writing, and that's the reason it says, it's a signature of a person. Even it influences the personality and self-confidence of you. And 21st century, don't you think we need personality and self-confidence?
It is like why we have to cook food when we can order it from outside and get it in or
Whatever,
doorstep.
ma'am, irrespective of this technical, the gadgets or whatever, there are four things in education you cannot replace. That writing, reading, listening, and speaking. This is the four main pillars of education. You remove writing, speaking, reading, and listening from this thing. You don't need a school.
Absolutely.
This is the basic four pillars of education.
Yes.
And 21st century, maybe in 22nd century also the same thing is relevant. It's an oxygen, I may say. These all four things are oxygen for a child.
Yeah.
And even ma'am mentioned about this. There are 100 the county in US. This is the district. They are in 84. The then governor declared no writing is required. In one county is called 100 Woods. I think you know that place in US.
Yes.
And within 6 months, they said, no, we made a wrong decision. Bring this thing back. And what was there in US in the beginning of 90s? What they said, we don't need the classrooms. We will digitalize it. The same people within a year replace this thing. And they themselves, there was a campaign in US called Go Back to Your Classrooms. There are certain things you cannot replace. What technology? Technology is an aid. It's a support.
Yes. We should not become slaves to technology. Let technology be us, help us, aid us in teaching. So people are asking about the link on the chat box. Attendance link.
That is attendance link there.
The attendance. Please share that one.
Anyone else would like to ask anything?
Sir, please proceed.
Anyone would like to ask anything to Pallavi ma'am? She's devoted to you today.
What happened today? Usually we used to get a lot of questions.
That's what I said. Either everybody has understood everything or nobody has understood.
No, the first option is there. I mean, people understood very well. If nobody understood, then there will be a lot of questions. Yeah, then we can have an interaction, ma'am. This topic, what do you say, Vijay, ma'am? Let us have an experience sharing, some kind of an interaction.
That is what is going on now, no?
Question answer is no question. Now we will have an interaction, discussion.
Yeah, we'll not have a question. Anybody would like to say anything regarding, anything related to the topic also can be shared, no problem.
Diksha ma'am, you can also come in. Sunita ma'am, let us have a
open discussion.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, your voice, Vijay ma'am, you forgot to fix that.
Actually, I was using the speaker.
Yeah.
The thing is that no, I was saying if some of us could share our experiences as an instructional leader,
Correct.
how successful we were, maybe, or how we failed. Maybe one or two experiences would add value. Because I think, Pallavi, there were no questions because maybe almost all of them who are attending are already instructional leaders.
Correct.
They are already in that space. So that
Yeah.
may be it. So maybe over to someone who.
Yeah, I would love to hear their experiences.
I think I would like to say one thing, that being a leader, we have to be a role model. Whatever we say, we have to practice that also. Only when you say something and if you do not follow the same thing, then it will not be a good thing for a leader. Because a leader is always followed by many people. In order to lead, you require that you have to be a role model. Whether it is teaching or any other thing are concerned, you have to be a role model in front of the students particularly and in front of other teachers also.
Yeah, you are right, sir. And a lot of insights everyone must have received today. After attending this session, Pallavi ma'am, loads of congratulations to you for making everything crystal clear in front of the teachers and the principals. And everyone must have understood that whether we are talking about the principal or the teachers, 5 basic questions related to the following 5 areas must be given, means ownership must be given to the teachers or the principals or whosoever the instructional leader is, and that is first is fostering effective leadership, second is instructional leadership, third is embodying visionary leadership, what you have mentioned in your presentation also, fourth is developing leadership capacity, and the last one is creating sustainable change. Then only we would be able to leave a fingerprint on the so-called building of the school or the hearts of the people who are associated with it. So thank you so much. And if you would explain 2 or 3 lines about transactional form of and transformational form of instructional leadership, that would be an icing over the cake.
Transactional
and transformational form of instructional leadership.
I wouldn't be very sure. I'll make an effort. I'll make an effort. So I think transactional should be where we are dealing with the classroom transactions. I'm not sure, Pratiksha ma'am, I would need your help probably for this.
No, actually it is in terms of whether we are giving positive feedback or negative feedback, what kind of appreciation means reward, that is positive transactional, or negative transactional if it is in terms of punishment. So I guess every teacher, every leader should follow the positive transactional, which will lead to transformational kind of leadership, instructional leadership.
Thank you. Learning for me today.
We have learned a lot, ma'am. Thank you so much for the wonderful session.
Yeah, thank you.
Vidisha ma'am just submitted her PhD this thing and got awarded.
I know.
Must be from the thesis.
Thank you so much, sir. We are lifelong learners and we are still learning each and every moment.
If there is nobody sharing, I would like to share an experience.
Please.
Like Pallavi started with the importance of knowing the students. I thought I will share an experience of mine. When I became a teacher, I was so sure what I should be doing. I have to teach English, history, geography, EVS, etc., etc. I was a class teacher of standard 4. And I thought I knew. And I was a very passionate teacher. I used to really work hard. And there were a few students who were very weak. And I was so sure that, with my teaching, those students also have improved. But when the report cards came, I was thoroughly shattered. There were 18 or 19 students who did not do well. They failed in 4 of the subjects. Out of that, 3 were taught by me. I was so angry and I said, how can it happen? I am an excellent teacher. Now, how can these children fail? So I was 100% sure that the mistake is from the parents' side. They are not taking care. So that day when I was getting ready for my parents teacher meeting, I wrote a script in my mind. Okay, this is what I'm going to tell this child's parent. This is what I have to tell this fellow. I had 19 scripts ready for its 19 parents. And time started, parents started trooping into the room one by one. The first parent who came, I just looked at him and I almost froze. So I could make out that, like there was not some, everything is not right with that person. He had come with soiled clothes from the shop floor, could make out that he's not a very highly educated person. So I set my script aside and I started asking questions. I said, why your child is not doing well? I'm putting in so much of effort. And out came a story. The mother was not well. The father was playing the role of the mother and father, washing clothes, cooking, taking care of the mother. She was almost bedridden. And he said something which has stayed with me till now. He was a matriculate and he said, people told me, why don't you leave your wife back to her home? I told them, I am a man. I have married her. She is my children's mother. It's my job to take care of her. I was so touched. So instead of shouting at him, I told him, from today, your son is my responsibility. What you have to do is, you have to ensure that your child spends some time, half an hour, that they were in class 4. I said 30 minutes revising the lessons. Just ask the child to read the lessons. That's all. The rest 18 came, 18 had 18 stories. A single mother or a single father, a very wealthy father, but the child was not inclined towards studies. A father who was on the road, he was a driver. He used to be on the road for months together. No mobiles those days. I'm talking about the 90s. And like every child had every parent or every child had a story. And I did not take out my script to every child. To every parent, I said, from today, your child is my responsibility. Don't worry, but this you have to do. I think that day a teacher was born. Then I realized, what am I supposed to do? I knew these 19 children needed 19 different ways of handling. Somebody wanted a lot of love and attention from me. Somebody wanted a little firmness from me. Somebody has to be really supported. So I think, and then I started growing. I started, reading more. I started learning more how to, improve my skills to match with the needs of my children. So that day I learned that those days I hadn't known about this research on student-teacher relationship. Now there is a lot of research which shows that student-teacher relationship is an important factor in students' academic achievement and their character development. I experienced firsthand both how this can improve the academics and the character of the children, because when that batch of children, when they passed out from standard 12, they went upon the stage and they said we were a class apart because she was our teacher. So I feel, like each one of us has got so much to offer. We have that power to transform lives. And maybe what Pallavi said, all of us, I'm sure, must be, we have that growth mindset, and we are all reading, learning from each other and growing. And this is something which I wanted to share with you, a true story. And so many of those children still keep in touch with me. And I feel so good that I should say that I did not touch their lives. I feel they touched my life and I grew. That is a real fact. If that report card day was not there, if I were a subject teacher, maybe I might have missed out so many things. They touched my life and I grew. But whereas my children say, ma'am, you touched our lives, we grew. That is so nice of them to say, I believe. Thank you so much for your patience.
Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful. Beautiful, in fact, I must say.
Thank you.
And that too, the place is in,
Jharkhand.
that also
That
you have
was
to
in
tell. The
that,
location of the school also you have to tell, ma'am.
that
makes the
was in
story more.
Bihar. That was in Bihar, the erstwhile Bihar in Jamshedpur. Now it is in Jharkhand. So those days it was in Bihar. Yeah.
And ma'am, these are memories we cherish. I mean, you remember these after so many years. So I think this is the satisfaction we get as teachers, you know, when we can touch children's lives, make a difference. And when children, in fact, we get it back, you know, in a positive way when we see changes in them. It's so satisfying and fulfilling, you know.
Yeah. So knowing the children's background is so important.
Yes.
No, yeah. So, and even when we look back in our lives, you know, we love those teachers who understood us, who had a soft corner for us, who were kind to us. We did not like those teachers who kept themselves aloof from us. So,
very true.
I spoke too much. Maybe somebody else can share.
Yeah. Sunita ma'am.
Sir, ma'am has told these stories. Same thing I was thinking that we all in our own way, we have used different strategies for different students. Different type of students we have seen, like sometimes sign language also I have used. I was in Visakhapatnam and when we were there, and I was not knowing Telugu also, and I was teaching in a school. And then later on I shifted to a college, and I was not able to make them understand the things in their mother tongue sometimes, because that in that time in you can say 90s, they were also not very well versed with all the English and everything. Mother tongue is required, but still with all these appreciation words and different strategies, we tried to convey our things to them and to change their way of learning.
I'm with school in Visakhapatnam. Incidentally, I grew up in Visakhapatnam.
Visakhapatnam, ma'am, I have worked in Timpani also.
I studied in Timpani, ma'am.
Okay. I was in Timpani. Then later on, I shifted to Gajuwaka. There was a college. I taught there in junior college, +1 and +2, and then Swami Vivekananda Degree College. So I taught second year and final year.
I did my nursery and primary from Timpani School, Visakhapatnam.
Okay. I was there in 91, 92.
I was probably much before that.
Then later on in 2001, 2002 also, 2003, I taught in Timpani.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Small world it is. It's
Yes,
a small world.
ma'am. Very small. Then I shifted to Delhi also. Delhi, there is different strategies teaching. I was in modern school, ma'am. You must be knowing Barakhamba Road.
Yeah.
So
Where
I
are you
was
now,
there.
ma'am?
Actually, I am from Ludhiana, ma'am. My husband is a naval officer. So postings.
I am a naval officer's daughter. So.
Okay, I am naval officer's wife. So
My
now,
dad is
so last year he retired, so we shifted to Ludhiana. So I worked 8 years in modern school Barakhamba Road.
Okay.
So different strategies. In Delhi, it is totally different than Visakhapatnam and any other place.
Yes. I agree, ma'am.
All the schools, but the teaching is same. Like whatever you do in classrooms, how you handle students, and that is your own instinct. What strategies do you follow?
Very true, ma'am.
There are so many similarities between you two.
Yes.
That's the inference from the.
Yeah. Visakhapatnam, Navy, what all?
Yeah, correct. And in school's name also Mamda Modern, and here it is also modern. So if no further questions are there, we can wind up. If nobody wants to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I think we should. Yeah.
So
thank you, everyone, for joining. Yes, sir.
Once again, I thank each one of you for joining today's session. And those who are not a leader by today, after attending this session, you can become a leader tomorrow or day after. So with that note, I thank Pallavi ma'am once again.
And the session 21st Century Series last session. That
Yeah,
also
this will be the last session of the 21st Century Teaching Skills. As and when any new series comes, we will all be informed. So please be in touch with us. And as she has suggested, please become a good instructional leader. Oh, thank you all for joining today. And with the last song, we'll wind up.
ये मत कहो खुदा से मेरी मुश्किलें बड़ी, ये मत कहो खुदा से मेरी मुश्किलें